I will call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education, which was duly noticed on April 8, 2025 through posting and notification of the press in accordance with Wisconsin Statute 19.84. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. 3.2, I need a motion to adopt the August 12, 25 Board of Education agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously 9-0. Safety message.
Well, for those of you who attended August PPC meeting or tuned in, although I think there was something wrong with the link for that. So I'm repeating the safety message because it's an important one. And many of you who know me know that I care very deeply about pedestrian and crosswalk safety. So that's what we're talking about. And as we're getting close to the start of the school year, this is particularly important. Crosswalk safety involves both pedestrians and drivers understanding and following traffic rules and paying attention to their surroundings. Pedestrians should always use crosswalks, obey traffic signals, make eye contact with drivers before crossing. Drivers should yield to pedestrians in crosswalks, avoid distractions, and be aware of pedestrians, especially when turning. Here are a few more pointers. For pedestrians, use crosswalk, always cross at marked crosswalks or intersections, obey signals, follow pedestrian signals of the walk, don't walk, look left, right, and then left again before stepping into the crosswalk, and then obviously look for approaching traffic. Make sure that you ensure that drivers see you before crossing and don't assume that they will stop. Don't text and walk at crosswalks while you're crossing the street. Be visible, wear bright or reflective clothing, especially at night. For drivers, yield to pedestrians, stop and yield the right-of-way to pedestrians and crosswalks. Be aware, watch for pedestrians, especially when turning or passing, avoid distractions, don't pass stop vehicles, and follow speed limits. Adhere to the speed limits, especially in school zones. Thank you very much.
To 4.1. Consider approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. If the board members are willing, I'd like to just briefly pull out 4.7, 4.8, and 4.9.
I'm good with that.
I'm fine
Okay.
with that.
So the motion on the floor is to approve consent agenda other than 4.7, 4.8, and 4.9. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously 9-0. Thank you very much, fellow board. I just wanted to talk very briefly about these three items. First of all, thanks, Kim. These were wonderful reports. You know, annually, we kind of just sail right through these, but in my opinion, there was a few items on here that I thought were just wonderful, very moving forward for the health and safety of our children and staff. In particular, 4.7, the nursing report. We now have the stock meds program or whatever we're doing. Can you just tell me just a little bit about that, how that works?
Yes?
Yeah, it's on.
All right, perfect. So after collecting some data about the number of students that we were having to send home or they were going home because they didn't have simple medications like Tylenol, Midol, Benadryl, over-the-counter creams that we need parent permission to put on their child, we looked at some other larger districts across the state and found that districts have the right to keep stock medications on hand. And with parent permission, we can administer those stock medications to those students. So last year we just did secondary, and we're going to expand that to elementary this coming year. But we've been able to keep parents at work. They don't have to leave to come give meds to their child. We can keep students at school that just maybe had a headache or they've got a cough or a itchy arm or a little scratch, and it's just been a positive experience. It's not really any more work for the nurses or the health aides, and so we're going to keep that moving forward. And it's really relatively inexpensive cost to the district as well.
Can I add a comment to that? So some of you know last year one of my children had an emergency allergic reaction around lunchtime. It may or may not have been food related. I received a phone call from the nurse at Craig High School, and I was able to go over right away and check in on my child. They were able to administer Benadryl for this reaction under the guidance of the pediatrician. We called quickly and they said, yes, please do that. Of course, I did not have Benadryl on me, and I did not know, because this was a new program, that the high school was equipped to administer, and I don't want to say it could have saved her life, but it was very significant. And my child actually received far superior care from the nurse at Craig High School than she did at the emergency room. So I am very grateful, and I saw firsthand how having those medications and these amazing professionals available in our schools can make a really, really big impact in someone's health in big and small ways. So I'm super grateful for that. Thanks.
And we are also fully stocked in all of our buildings with Narcan in our AED kits, and staff have been trained on that as well.
Did you hear that, Carl? Outstanding. Thanks very much.
welcome.
Anybody else have any questions on that particular item? On the next one about seclusion and restraint, again, another wonderful report, and I was just what should I say, grateful that we have over 300, almost close to 350 people trained in restraint and seclusion. And we're focusing this year on more training on verbal conflicts and how to, and these things are all very important. A lot of these things go unseen that the school district does and provides. I mean, that's a significant amount of work to keep everybody healthy and safe at school.
So the current nonviolent crisis response intervention training we do does include the verbal intervention, but there are a lot of people who just do not want to have that physical component, and so they shy away from doing the complete training because they feel it may put them or obligate them to have to put their hands on a child, which we would never obligate anyone to put their hands on a child. With the de-escalation, hoping we'll get more people to sign up, because really the nonviolent crisis intervention is about that verbal de-escalation. It's not about putting your hands on your child. That's an absolute last resort, not what we want to be doing, but it's being able to talk them down, stay calm yourself, keep others around you calm to de-escalate a situation. So we'll be moving forward with that this year too.
Thank you. Any questions on that one? And then finally, I just wanted to talk just very briefly about the children at risk. Some wonderful data. We're moving in the right direction, but the opportunities in programming and help that we provide our children that are at risk is, I mean, the list was, there have been 20 or more opportunities. And again, I'm restating myself, but these kinds of things do, to me, directly support student achievement and keep our kids in the classroom, which we know is very important. Other than that, that's the only reason I wanted to bring those three items up. I thought they were just, in my opinion, important to gloss over. Anybody else have any? So how about a motion to approve 4.7, 4.8, and 4.9?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously 9-0. Moving on to Finance, Building, and Grounds report.
Seemed like forever that we had a committee meeting. So just briefly, and I will say this meeting, it was a prelude to September where we're going to really get into a lot of details on policy and things. But a couple of the key items that were discussed, the progress on roofing projects and what has been completed, and I'm sure that we're much further along now. The one interesting piece is, for years, we've dealt with the AC cooling at Craig. And my comment would be is, it probably was an inferior installation right from the beginning. So we're paying the price, so it went out. But fortunately, we were able to get a couple coolers and do our best, or doing our best to keep the building as cool as possible, but it's gonna take some time to resolve that one, so. But it's important that everybody knows the AC at Craig is out, or at least was out. Well, it's out, but we're still trying to keep it cool. Continue the budget planning. No real update there. The student fees, we spent a fairly significant amount of time talking student fees and understanding, and more of the focus was on athletic fees. And we will continue that discussion, but as we just look at making sure that everybody who can pay pays. And how do we arrive at whatever the fee is, let it be, acknowledged and then tracked through the system and make sure that, as I said, whoever can pay, pays. Then we, as I said, most of the other fee items we're pushing out as really we look at policy. One of the ones that'll be a more interesting discussion is a newer one, it's on drones. So we will get into that. I'm not sure where that goes, but that'll be, I'm sure, a fun discussion. The city and district facility use and lease agreements. Over the years, the city uses our facilities less and less and less and less. Okay, so that means that we're paying more for the use of city facilities, and now we're going to make it, I'll say, doubly or triply worse. The new Woodman's Convention Center and the ice there, that'll be a new cost, and we're adding women's hockey. So we'll be looking for more hours, so that'll be just one more budget pressure that we didn't have that we'll have to factor into that. So just keep that in mind as we move forward with that. One of the more, I'll say, unique changes that really Dan and his team have come up with. So for years, we've had custodial and maintenance in a building. Well, who does the principal go to? Who's the answer person? And they probably would go like that. Well, starting to implement, particularly at the secondary level, that there will be a point person for that, all within Dan's organization. So that'll be a little bit to implement, but that's a wonderful change there. And then lastly, for years, the district has used Chase for all banking, or not all, but the majority of the banking, the large banking, went out to bid, and Johnson Bank won the bid. So we'll be in the process of moving, well, we just approved, part of the consent agenda, to move to Johnson Bank for handling out depositories. And then lastly, lastly, we'll be having meetings September 15th, focused on all of the wonderful policies, not all, but a lot of the policies within finance, buildings, and grounds, which is, seem like they're a lot more detailed than PPC, but that's okay. And then the 16th, we will have our normal-ish committee meeting. So, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Well, I will have you know, some of our policies are many pages, so we get our punishment, Commissioner Ardrey. And I'm really glad that your presentation was not 16 minutes, because it says update device within 16 minutes, update required. So I think my device will be shutting down. So I have to hurry up too. Real quick though, I want to tell you that I just went through the registration process and paid my fees for my students, and I only had to pay fees for 2 students, not 3, because one of my babies is officially graduated. So I have now been a parent through every step of School District of Janesville process, from P4J to graduation. So that is a great place to be here, because I've seen it all, and for decision making. Well, we kicked off the 2025-2026 year with our very first PPC meeting last week on August 4th, and we started with a presentation from Chris Medenwald on middle school and high school retake policy. That was something that was requested that we dig a little deeper, and I know that the folks in middle school and high school were working on solidifying the process and maybe what that looked like for their, not necessarily policy, but how they go about things. In the overview we received, we learned that there was a recent visit to Chicago to learn more about the AVID philosophy, and that was, you know, kind of worked into some of the things that they were doing with considering retakes as well. We always love hearing more about AVID, so that was fun to hear about. We do have a retake policy for middle school and high school students for a number of key reasons, but the fundamental idea is that student learning is at the core, and we want our students to continue engaging in the learning process. Middle school and high school have different practices, but there are some similarities for their retake policies. There is a timeline on retakes, and all formative work must be done beforehand. Major projects or performances are not typically included in retake options, and extra credit is not allowed. At the high school level, there has been a strong focus on aligning practices within each department. So as the options and what makes sense for those departments is going to really vary greatly from things from the art department, from music to math and science. And so they're working on making sure that the practices are aligned in those departments. Formatives must be completed in order for retakes to be an opportunity for students, and those would be assignments and other progress work leading up to that summative assessment, which would be a test. There are also variances due to the type of class that students are in. Just as an example, we have transcripted classes and advanced placement classes, and sometimes there are restrictions that those classes have based on you know, the overall format of those classes. Policies regarding retakes will be outlined in course syllabi, shared on back to school nights, accessible via the website. I'm assuming for the high school, I don't know if that will be on the middle school website, but teachers will also communicate expectations directly to students. And we just always want to say, if you know, you as a parent aren't sure what the retake policy is, don't hesitate to reach out to the teacher or the administrator to make sure that everyone's on the same page. We appreciate, PPC appreciates the work that's been done on kind of formalizing. It's a ever-evolving process, the retake, and I know that there will continue to be work done as, you know, needs come up and practices change over time. We also had updates to the student parent handbook, which is completed on a quarterly basis. Of course, these updates were presented in the consent agenda tonight, so that was provided to you all previously to review. The next part of our August PPC presentation related to the employee handbook updates, and that is to be updated quarterly. HR will be working through the handbook piece by piece as a part of a very thorough overview process, which we're excited to see. and we saw the very first couple of pages, and we will continue to see more of that trickling out throughout the rest of the year. That was also presented in tonight's consent agenda for you, and we voted that through. If you want to go back and look at that, you certainly can, but you can't go back and look at a live feed, which I often say, if you want more, you can go back and look, because I think that there was an issue with that. It's not on the website, so I wanted to make sure that my overview was really good for you all. Our next meeting will be held on Monday, September 8th. Please note that this will not be the first Monday of the month as we normally meet due to the Labor Day holiday. So we just met yesterday to plan the agenda for that meeting, and we are looking forward to that in September and lots of other exciting things to come with PPC. Thanks to my committee members and everyone that works with us to make it the magic happen.
Thanks, Liz. I have no new board agenda requests from our fellow commissioners. How about next meeting stuff?
The next Board of Education meeting will be Tuesday, August 26th at 6 p.m. at the ESC.
We are adjourned.